We are here in the lobby of the Waterman building in Southeast Portland with VP of Northrim, Matt Schweitzer.
Hello, hello.
How are you, Matt?
Life is good.
Good, very good. So we're here in the Waterman. Where is the Waterman building?
We're at 80 Southeast Madison, right at the cross street of Madison Water in the central east side of here, industrial district. We're about a block off the east side Esplanade, so just one block off the water.
Very cool, very cool. And I think a lot, for the people that follow us and for our community out there, I think a lot of people have seen us in the Waterman building. We've talked a lot about it. We've talked about the amenities. We've talked about amazing sushi Mazi.
Yep.
We've talked about the amazing conference room back behind.
Yep.
We've talked about all the amenities, the bike lockers, the everything. I know we've walked through, there's a suite here that it's like my dream suite. It's always been like someday down here around the corner on the first floor.
Yep.
Now, we've walked through it before, but it's a little bit different today, right?
Exactly.
So what makes it different?
Let's go down the hall and take a look. I'll show you what we're doing.
Awesome.
And I'll tell you why we're doing it.
Okay, great. That sounds great.
All right. So suite 120 is on the ground floor, main ground floor suite. And you'll see we're a little bit of a construction zone here, Michael, so if you can kind of maybe pan around and let folks see what we've got.
Should we have hard hats on?
Definitely. So don't tell
Just me.
Please don't tell the construction crew they're not going to be happy with us, okay? Or OSHA for that.
Okay, all right.
So obviously you see some bare studs behind me there. We got sheetrock, we've got floors covered, insulation still needs to go up. So essentially what we had here, Michael, was we got a much larger suite. It's about 3,000 feet. When we originally did this building, we had our flagship tenant came in and took the whole space. And it was great. It was an architecture firm that was here with us for a little while, and they needed the full 3,000 square feet that this space was. After they wound up moving out of the building, we had the space available, and we marketed, of course, as it was for some time. And then what we realized, and this happens often in a lot of our projects, what we realized sometimes is that in the marketplace there wasn't as many of those size of users of space.
Because that's quite a bit of space, right?
For Portland, definitely. Portland is, we obviously have large companies here like any city does, but most people know that there's a lot of smaller businesses that are here in town. And so for a smaller size business to take on 3,000 feet, that's a lot. That's a good size space. Sure. And a lot of overhead. So we know that we're built up of a lot of smaller spaces. And of course, for us, it's no secret, as soon as we go to do a project, the faster we can lease it up, the better, right? Because we want to create the next project.
Yeah.
It's not, that's not the best kept secret here.
Yeah.
So the opportunity that we had, and this also too is a process that we go through with any project that we put together. I've told you many times, we do all this stuff on a speculative basis, meaning, it's the field of dreams. We build it, they will come. And so the idea is we're always trying to find that correct mark. What's the exact thing that people want? Office market's always an interesting one because there's this. I think we all fall in love with the idea of open space and the creative. Creative. You hear that word all the time, but there is sort of an element that you also need in a closed office,
right?
Every once in a while,
right?
I still think there's many HR discussions that can't be had,
yeah, sure.
Right, in an open setting.
Almost any conversation I have in an office should be behind closed doors.
Yeah. I'm not going there. There's definitely several of mine too. No, but the idea being, obviously, there's conversations. There's times where maybe it isn't even so much a private conversation as much as it is, if you come in, obviously, to an office like this is a pretty good sized office here. This could be even a small meeting within your firm, okay?
Sure.
Where you're saying, I need to bring 2 or 3 people together versus everybody being out in the open.
Sure.
And we all know, you can't, sometimes it's hard to have 2 or 3 different conversations going on at once.
Yeah, even just from a creative standpoint, right? It's definitely like, I think that the office, to me, the big difference of, say, working at, your house or working on, telecommuting, or whether you have a virtual assistant overseas or whatever, and the difference of having bodies in a space is really from a collaboration standpoint, right? And getting all of your ideas, whether it's marketing, whether it's strategy, whatever, and having everybody together to be actually, compile all of those ideas and synergize together.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. And another, and that also dovetails into, talks about, and I'm glad we're here today to be able to show this, especially in the state we're in right now without the sheetrock up and stuff.
Right.
This really highlights, our company, North Rim, what we're doing when you come to us as a potential tenant. In this particular case, we recognize the space fit really well to have 2 offices, but if it needed a third, we could put in a third. We have that capability. We also know that every office user loves, putting kitchenettes in too. You can have your own little private water setup. We're even going to be doing that in this suite as well. Yeah. So these are things that we have the capability to do. We work really well. A lot of times I meet folks who aren't very good at, if you don't look at blueprints all the time, oftentimes it's hard to understand what fits in a space or what doesn't fit in a space. So this is an opportunity for us. We can work with you and help you come up with the best plan that works for our business. Yeah.
And then so it's sort of like, this was one big space, and now we're turning it into two suites.
Yes.
Then, correct?
Yes.
So we're standing in the one. So the one this will be the entrance. Will these doors still remain the entrance to here?
Totally. This is when we originally did this building, this was a much larger suite, so this was a very sort of grand entrance to the very large suite.
Yeah.
The cool thing now is if we even have interest in this space already, and I know why, because you sort of get the feel of a much larger type of setup, yet you're not. Right, so your overhead's still relatively, a lot lower, but you still get that grand entrance.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the Waterman, to me, one of the cool things about being down here is when you have a high-end Japanese restaurant right outside your front door and a really high-end lobby. I don't know many businesses that don't want to have a more polished look.
100%.
To what they're doing.
And especially if you're making that jump, say whether you're in an existing space, whether you're upsizing from your current space, whether you're making that jump from sort of the home business or the where everybody telecommutes from all over and then actually coming into a space. But like, you definitely want, I know the way I am, is it's like when you get that space, you really want to be able to like show off that space, whether it's from your workers feel like that they're proud to work in a space that's a nice space and they feel like they're really doing something, or obviously for your potential clients or existing customers. I mean, it's all just definitely a perception, of how well you're doing and sort of your direction of your business.
Without a doubt. I mean, there's not a business out there that's not selling at some level.
Sure.
Okay, whether you're selling to your staff or you're selling to an outside client, you know. And obviously, there's images that people want to hold for their business,
Sure.
Which is fantastic. Sure. The other unique feature about being down here, which is it's kind of interesting. Some people love it, some people don't.
We're about to
hear it. We are on the train tracks. That comes with being in the old industrial side, so the train does come through occasionally.
Well, these windows are huge, right?
Yeah.
It's literally, these are like ground and darn near ceiling.
Well, yeah. This building has, this first floor, it's an all concrete building, so this first floor has, we're over 14 feet basically.
Yeah, huge.
It's an all concrete building, and then we put in the brand new windows on these double pane glass windows, so really nice setup in terms of efficiencies and even sound. You'll see when the train goes by. When it's on the horn, it's loud. I mean, that just comes with the territory. In fact, my office is 4 blocks away, and when the train goes by, you can hear it in my office too. So we all in the district have it. But after it goes by, you're going to notice it's just a light. It's sort of a light rumble. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's a light noise that comes.
And it's funny because it sounds like we could be like doing the thing where it's like it's a real it needs the upgrades, but I truly like this. I mean, I think that it's actually a really cool thing. And then once that part's gone, once the actual front of it is gone, and then that's it. I mean, that's where the noisy part. But see, this is what's cool to me is just honestly from like an action things going on. I mean, it's like if you're gonna have a window, think of how many windows out there just look at like, a parking lot, right? And like where you don't get much. Where this is actually like something's going on. I don't know. Heck, I think there's art on trains that goes by. It's like you get your own little art museum every day.
Everybody that's here knows. Everybody that's here that knows that's part of the charm.
Yeah.
So you either see it that way or you don't.
Yeah.
And that to me, it's part of what being in this district is all about.
Yeah.
Because that's that comes with it. The other nice thing about this building too, that most people who know the district well know, some of the buildings that are built in this district are not of the same stout construction. One of the nice things about this building is because we seismically upgraded it and it's all concrete, there's no shake to it.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And I know that's pretty important when you're obviously close to the train.
Well, and that's something too, for what it's worth, I'm only a floor up, and I have a studio here where I record podcasts, for whether it's tenants in the building or other outside businesses, and it's never affected, which I know you even thought it was going to.
Sure.
You thought it was going to be more, and I've been recording and I've had it gone through, and you don't hear it. So it's like, and that just must be obviously that the building is so well put together, and it's so sturdy that it's I don't get, I might get like a light vibration, but other than that, I don't even really hear it.
Yeah. Well, it also speaks to, God, the construction back in the day. Okay, this building was built, decades ago, so they were able to do things back then that sometimes it's harder to do now.
Sure.
So
yeah,
Mike,
so let's take a
before
look.
we forget, let's go. We're gonna do a little magic and walk through a wall.
Sure.
How's that? All right?
Absolutely.
So now we basically come into what's going to be the second suite of this whole program. Okay. And so this turns out really nice too. So the wall that we just walked through will be sheetrocked over, and that's going to be the other suite. We're actually standing in the second suite that got created. Okay, same great windows are still here.
We got two of them over here.
And again, going back to the office stuff, we also decided on this one that it made sense. We had an opportunity to put 3 private offices in here.
Very cool.
So same kind of thing. We're actually it looks like a real mess right now. This is actually kind of my favorite stage.
Yeah.
But we're going to be opening up this whole section behind me here and putting a new entry door in as well. The space is actually going to grow a little bit because we're able to grab a little extra footage within the space and keep some nice glass front door. This space even has another door on the other side, so it has 2 potentially separate entrances. Cool. So yeah,
this is really cool. It's awesome to see too, because I know you guys are doing the upgrades to this suite and sort of giving it, making it potentially more applicable for more businesses, because there's only X amount of businesses within the area that need 3,000 square foot offices, right? But you guys are obviously doing this yourselves. But if somebody, let's say, if somebody were even this space as is right now, if they were going to come in when everything's completed and they wanted to add a 4th office, say right here, technically that's possible, right?
Yeah, no, and it's one of the things that help, that's nice when you work with us, because again, we have that capability, so if something's not working with the space physically and we have the ability to change it, we're open to that. We can look at that and we can do that. In my perfect world, you lease space for me forever, right? As long as your business.
Yeah, whether and whether it's I think that sort of the name drop with like Fit Kitchen Direct. I think they're here in the building, and one of the things that they always talk about is the ability to. They know that they started as sort of a baseline office with what the office they have now, and they know that they're growing crazy. Their trajectory is wild, and they know that they wanted to be with an establishment that could grow with them and sort of put them in, if they grow offices, as they wanted to grow in size.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. With us, we have several other buildings in the area, so we look at it 2 ways. One, obviously, if with a tenant that comes in the building, if they grow within the building, of course, that's the best. And the nice thing is, because we manage our own property as well as develop it, when I know you're coming in that way, we're able to have almost an ongoing conversation. The idea is, okay, because nobody wakes up on Monday and says, oh man, I got to be in that new office by tomorrow or my business is toast.
Yeah, right.
It just doesn't work like that. Usually there is some kind of lead time. So what I usually do with folks in that situation is I just try to figure out, work with them on timing, see what I have available. Of course, if I have it in the building here, we'll keep you in the building. If not, we'll look to see if I can put you in another one.
Sure.
In fact, we have a law firm in this building that actually came from one of our other buildings that was in the Hollywood district, and I couldn't do that in that building because it didn't have that size space. So they were able to come here and get a space that made much more sense for them, and we customized it. So, and that was even great because we had such a long-standing relationship. We were able to see with them, hey, what do you need? And they're like, well, we need 3 or 4 privates, and we need it to look like X. And we knew their business well, they knew us well, and it just made it so much nicer as we move forward. They have a nice suite that they like, and of course we fill the space, and that's my job.
Absolutely, and I think that's what's important is that, even if somebody's watching this and sees, the size of this office and go, oh, that's a big office, I don't need something. I mean, you guys have, whether it's an office space, whether it's a retail space, whether it's a commercial kitchen, I mean, you guys are really sort of, I'm sure that I think you guys are sort of like a one-stop shop. I mean, definitely coming to you guys, and if it's a business that goes, hey, we need a space, and you can ask them a couple questions, you should be able to, I know you guys are kind of booking out, there's not a whole lot of units left in this building left, and you guys have some other projects that are about to open up. But, if somebody were to get a hold of you, even no matter if they were a big or small office, you have some inventory or you have some stuff that you could potentially show them, correct?
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. We love, obviously I want to have the conversation, you know what I mean? When people call me on a building, if I don't have that specific need, a lot of times we'll have the further conversation that says, hey, well, what is it you're really looking for? And one of three things can happen there. One is I happen to have it in another building similar. The two is maybe sometimes people come at me and they need to get a little bit of more information about the marketplace.
Sure.
Sometimes they come and they're looking for something, and I'll be like, I don't know, I'm not sure that's out there the way you're looking for. Right. But that's an education.
Sort of the golden goose.
Well, yeah, or I will say that to people. I mean, I'll say, hey, you're looking for something that's maybe a needle in a haystack. So
are you saying that I couldn't get this space for $40 a month? Is that what you're saying? You can't cut me any deal on that?
1925 maybe.
Okay, all right.
Wait a minute, I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure that.
How many? Well, but real quick. I know what you're saying. But how many square feet are these two units?
So the one we were just in is a little over 1,400 feet.
Okay.
And then this one we're looking at just under 2,000 feet.
Okay, cool.
All in, yeah. So these, and like I said, that one, recapping, has 2 private offices, kitchenette. This one has 3 private offices. We're actually putting a kitchenette in this one as well.
Down there at the end?
Yeah.
Cool.
And then this building, to remind everybody, we've got a common conference room. No additional charge for that. That's we do a Google Calendar, thank you Google, for doing a first come, first serve to use the conference room. And that's on this floor, literally right next to these suites. So it's a nice big, space there.
Very cool.
So we're down to last 4. That's
Very
it.
cool.
We got 4 left in the building. So.
Very cool. And then, again, a little plug for me, as I mentioned earlier. Tenants also of the building, whether new or old tenants, they also, and even at this building or at another building, but especially at this building, we have a studio here in the building that's sort of, I think, the first of its kind from an amenity standpoint, is that a lot of the businesses, or all of the businesses, have access to a podcast, live recording, video podcast, video webinar, whatever they want to do, studio that they can be utilizing for content for their businesses.
Everybody that's come in the building in the last 6 months, I think, has or is about to take advantage of the studio.
100%.
And
yep.
and to us, the studio to me is just one of the coolest things we've gotten to work on in a long time.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's one of those amenities where every business, like we just talked about, everybody's selling something at some point, right? So the idea that we have a studio here that you have easy access to and can create some amazing content. I know, Michael, you've done for some of the tenants already, you've done some amazing content, and that is, I just think in today's day and age, you can't get enough.
Sure.
You can't get enough material.
And I think that's a good segue even to talking about sort of maybe even what sort of businesses would be good in these spaces. I mean, whether it's a creative agency, whether it's a financial firm. I mean, I know before when it was the whole thing, you had an architecture firm in here, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, what other types of businesses do you see in being in a space like this?
It's funny. I think anybody that's in a professional services setting, this space is absolutely perfect for. I think often, it's funny, when I think back on the history of the buildings we created, a lot of times when we're creating a building, as we do on a spec basis, oftentimes people don't think about that building or that specific area because it didn't exist before, right? And I can't tell you how many times I bring people into this building, and as soon as they walk up those front steps, they're like, oh, wow, this is... the inference is it's nicer than I expected.
Yeah, right.
Right? And it is. I mean, it does. There's definitely a wow factor, I think, to this.
I have that with you. You're nicer than I expected.
Yeah. Wow, man, I got to pay again for that. No, so what happens with a space like this, so when I say anybody in professional services, I mean, you're literally, you name a business that, from architecture to somebody selling insurance to
legal, accounting.
Yes. We had some stockbroker types the other day that were looking possibly for a potential, place for their office. We have a few nonprofits in the building. I think there's a good setup, for that. Anybody that's looking to have a quality space on the east side, that likes the east side. I mean, I think that's a good point. Like, if you're thinking downtown, you're thinking Pearl District.
Yeah.
Not the same setup. I mean, you got to be comfortable with the east side.
Yeah, but to me too, though. I mean, I grew up a west side suburban kid my whole life, and I wouldn't consider myself an east side guy, technically. But I definitely like the character on the east side. That's more. It's definitely less like cookie cutter feeling, obviously. But this specific space for me, and this year, the Waterman for me, it's not like I'm not in Gresham, not anything wrong with Gresham, but it's like it's so foreign to me as being somebody who's more like west side, downtown. I still definitely get sort of the downtown vibe here at this building specifically.
Well, the district is changing. I mean, anybody that's lived in Portland for the last 20, 25 years, it's not the same city it was a couple of decades ago. And I firmly believe we're going to have some even more changes as we move along. This particular district specifically is in transition. We're probably in the middle of its biggest transition right now. We're definitely not the first. I mean, there's some other great.
There's a new Seasons going in a few blocks down.
That's
there's all sorts of stuff.
The other side of MLK and Grand, you've got. I think I read 5,000 units coming in within the district. So that's a lot of people.
A lot of bodies.
That's a lot of bodies coming in. But when you see a company like a New Seasons coming into the district, you know things are changing.
Sure.
I know that we've got, like I said, we're not the first. There's other great projects here in town, and I know there's a lot more to come. So it's kind of a fun district to be a part of.
Sure, absolutely. All right, sir. Well, thank you so much for showing us the space.
Yep.
Well, I like to be able to kind of take a peek behind the curtain, look at I think that's the first wall. Well, I've probably walked through a couple walls. I'll be honest with you. Nobody gets to see. I'm a large fellow, but anyway, thank you so much, sir, and we'll check in with you again soon.
Awesome.